Tonight's species is known as an inshore and offshore fish. It's easily recognized by its brown stripe over the eye and its fang-like teeth. Tonight, we're talking about the mangrove snapper here on the one and only Florida Insider Fishing Report.
Welcome to the Florida Insider Fishing Report, powered by Harbor Trucks and presented by Yamaha.
Hello and welcome back to the Florida Insider Fishing Report. We hope you had some good fishing weather for your Memorial Day weekend holiday, but Alberto really made it difficult with all the rain, right, Rick?
He absolutely did, but you know, I saw some bass pictures of you.
I
So
did.
proud.
I got to get out bass fishing a little bit before the rain came. Well, we're getting back to good old sunny Florida this weekend, welcoming June with open arms. Someone has a birthday coming up.
Me.
Excited about that?
You know, the cool part is we celebrate birthdays for 30 days in the Murphy house.
Yep.
That means presents.
He's really excited. All right, well, we've got a great show for you today talking about mangrove snapper. And we also have a special guest. Chef Taylor Sanders is here, and she'll be cooking up a snapper storm over there. Look how cute she is. And of course, Dave Ferrell is at the CCA workbench. You got some secrets over there for mangrove snapper?
Yes, I do. I have secrets for both inshore and offshore. We're going to be talking about how to catch those great big ones, which, you know, it's kind of hard to do. They're very, very shy.
Yes.
Wary fish.
Yes, they are. We're excited about that. The Bell's Southwest region is starting the Snapper Fest off, so Captain Ronnie, let's not keep him waiting any longer. Go for it.
Well, it's grateful to be here for the Bell's Southwest region. You know, rain's been the big subject here on the southwest coast of Florida, so my reports this week are going to be the best I can give you with the weather we've been having. But as we talk about the theme species mangrove snapper, the good thing is they are plentiful all throughout the region, not only inshore but offshore. Now, on the offshore side, you want to concentrate on structure, whether it be wrecks, artificial reefs, ledges, just to name a few. And the key to that game is for the mangroves is chumming, whether it be cut pilchard, store-bought chum, or just make your own. And a lot of guys will do the sandballing effect. But one thing you got to understand is once you get the fish going, you got to lighten up on the chum. And if the water's clear, you want to be using light leaders. Now, with this rain we've been having, the water's been a little bit dingy, so a little heavier leader will suffice. But once you get them going, you want to drop back simply small cut baits like herring, squid, or shrimp. But on the inshore side, we have a vast amount of mangrove shorelines all throughout the region. That's where they like to be, and most of them will hold snappers. But since Hurricane Irma, plenty of down debris that have been due to Hurricane Irma, wrecks and head pins, points with current, intercoastal docks and seawalls. There's plenty of places you can find them. Now, you can chum if you want to find them, but there's no reason to. You can simply use live shrimp, free-line in the current or weighted, or artificial shrimp on a jig head, or your best bet to locate them would be a simple yellow, brown, or white bucktail tip with shrimp. But I'm going to tell you something. If you're just learning how to do this and you like to set the hook, nothing beats a pinfish strip on a hook due to how durable the bait is, and that way they can't steal your bait. So pinfish strip with a circle hook is recommended. That way you can let the fish take it and just simply reel. On the offshore side still, we're going to talk about the Spanish mackerels, Marco to Fort Myers Beach, from the beach line out to about 12 miles. Wrecks, artificial reefs, and head pins and large bait pods. Also big groups of birds. Also some scattered kings up to about 30 pounds in with these Spanish mackerel schoons. Once you find them, live pilchards, white bucktails, all with a trace of wire. But also if you can catch some thread fins or blue runners before you find these Spanish mackerel, get in some of these schools, drop a thread fin or a blue runner in, you might get a lucky king mackerel. Now, before we go into the inshore side, I'd like to make mention, you know, we get opportunities to play and put in time with product. And with all the rain we've been having this in May, I've had the opportunity to mess around with my series. One of the things I really like about it is I get the opportunity to see when the storm is coming. Then I can make my mind up what I'm going to do. If I see a red cell, a yellow cell, or a green cell, the red cell might be smaller, but the green cell is telling me it's light rain. I should run through that even though it's longer. The funny thing about it is, as you approach the cell, you see your boat going into the cell, you're going through the cell, and you're coming out. So for me right now, it's a big game change for me, and I truly believe in this area. Now on the inshore side, we're going to talk about the snooks. Indian Key to Gordon's Pass, the outer Gulf Islands are points to the passes, last half of the incoming and the first half of the outgoing tide. Live pilchards have been working well, also white bucktails and silver spoons along the beaches and outer Gulf Islands. You want to concentrate on topwater skitterwalks and bone chartreuse, and chrome. Also the bass assassin, foreign sea shad in either white or root beer on a quarter-ounce jig head. Got a couple pictures of the snook that's just been caught. First one is with Chris Broom of Clean Sweep Charters. Obviously, you can see those guys were fishing in the rain. And another nice fish caught further to the south with Captain Brian Sanders. So there is opportunity for the snooks. Now, the redfish a little further to the north. You want to concentrate the Indian Fields, Buzzard Bay, and Mount Lachey area from the bridge to the power lines on the higher stages of the tidal on the mangroves or some of the feeder creeks now dumping out fresh water. Now, you can use cut ladyfish or pinfish, but make sure you get it up underneath the overhangs or look for areas of deadwood along those shorelines. Now, live pinfish have been working well with some weight to keep the pinfish in place as he likes to wander. Also saw plastic shrimp and 4-inch paddletail skipped under the bushes on the higher stages. And I got another picture of a nice redfish caught while fishing with Captain Brian Sanders. Keep an eye out for the weather as we're going to have rain for the rest of the week. Hopefully the winds will lighten up towards the weekend.
All right, thank you so much, Ronnie. We're going to take a look at the Colusa cast nets, hot spots from the southwest region. Offshore, Cobia stump pass to Wiggins Pass, fishing the wrecks 45 to 60 feet of water using large live baits. And then inshore, tarpon, nighttime fishing the bridges in Punta Gorda, Cape Coral, and Sanibel area. The tide makes no difference, Brie, but the water's got to be moving.
Yep, headed up to our other Bell's Central East region, Captain Jim Ross is full of mangrove snapper news. So, Jim, if you're ready, let's hear what you got.
Well, I'll tell you what, Brie, it's going to be one of the best weeks of the year for mangrove snapper on our offshore waters here in the central east part of the state. Most of our mature fish have gathered into large schools on a lot of the reefs and wrecks that are located between about 70 and 120 feet of water. Anglers can anchor and chum these fish at the surface, just like Ronnie was talking about, and this is where your live baits like shrimp and finger mullet and pilchers really come in handy. You want to free line those back into your chum slick. Now, these fish are really sharp-eyed. You know, snapper are not easy to pull, so you want to drop your leader size down to a 25 or possibly 30-pound Suffolk fluorocarbon leader, and you want to attach your main line with a line-to-line connection instead of using a swivel. That's one of the tips. You know, a double uni knot, an FG knot, anything where you can eliminate the hardware is going to get you catching those bigger mangroves. I've got a picture here from Salty Dog Outfitters. Those guys sent me a picture of Blake when he was aboard the Critter Fleet here out of Ponce Inlet here not too long ago. And you can see that there's quite a few fish in there that are running 4 to 6 pounds. But look at that chunky one down towards the bottom. There's some big fish out there. There's some 10-pounders out there right now.
No doubt.
And then my second picture is Delaney Pickering. And she told her dad that she wanted to start fishing. And guess what? She was fishing around the Ponce Inlet backwater areas the other day and caught this really nice little mangrove snapper on her first outing. So backwaters are holding fish as well. Now, our other species on the offshore report is the tarpon. Our nearshore waters from Vero Beach all the way up to Satellite have got schools of tarpon that are moving up into them. Most of these fish are seen rolling about a quarter to a half mile off the beach. Whenever you see them up there, they're typically feeding on schools of bait fish. So make sure that you've got some kind of live bait, like a pilchard or a croaker or a greenie, that you can put out in front of them, and then either drift or slow troll those baits through our tarpon schools. Now, right now, the tarpon are running 60 to 100 pounds. We are going to get some bigger ones as the season comes on, but we're seeing our first good schools of the year so far. Now, swinging inshore. Pompano, the Ponce Inlet area, once again, I'm going to go right back to it. The guys at Salty Dog Outfitters have had plenty of people coming in and out of there catching 2 to 4 pound pompano on cut shrimp on 2 and 3 drop surf rates. They're fishing on the Dog Beach there at the south end of the inlet, or anywhere all the way down to the Canaveral National Seashore. There's a lot of places to access the beach where you can catch these fish. And if you don't want to use live baits or cut baits, you can also use a goofy-style jig or a standard short-tailed pompano-style jig, which would be like a nylon or bucktail. And you can cast those out into the surf and bounce them along as well. You can tip them with shrimp if you want or samplies if you want, but you can catch these big pompano on just about every type of bait or small jig right now if you're fishing in that area. And then the next species we're going to talk about is speckled trout. And our speckled trout in the Mosquito Lagoon is really, really good right now. I was talking with Captain Scott McCalla, and he says that because of the weather that we've been having lately, it's been keeping a lot of people off the water. And what's happened is between that, not having a bunch of people on the water, and the full moon, that all the big females have kind of spawned out here in the last couple of days, and they're moving up back onto the flats looking for an easy meal. So first thing in the morning, throw a Rapala Skitter Walk, or something like a large dye dapper that Assassin makes, or a Storm GT360. One of those swim baits, pull it right across the surface like it's a mullet, and you're going to get that big fish strike. Live pigfish, finger mullet, and shrimp will also work, But Captain Scott was telling me that his weapon of choice is a fly rod. So he's got a great picture here of a big speckled trout that he caught on his fly rod on a new style fly pattern that he was just testing. He made something that was similar to a wake bait, which is similar to a rapid with twitching mullet or a subwalk, and he made a fly that did that, and he caught this beauty on his 9-weight fly rod in the southern end of Mosquito Lagoon.
Well, good jobs. Yeah, it certainly did. Way to be innovative. All right, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the sea sucker hotspots from the Central East region. Offshore mangrove snappers on the structure in 70 to 120 feet. Use chunk bait and small live baits on light leader. And then inshore, pompano in the surf. Use cut shrimp, clams, or a whole sand flea on a standard surf rig, Brie.
All right, Rick, the Panhandle region is next up here on the Florida Insider Fishing Report, but I know Dave just can't wait for the mangrove madness over at the workbench.
That's right. And you know what?
Right.
I have learned one thing about mangrove snapper.
And that is?
You don't want to lip them. You don't want to put your hand in there.
No, you don't. We're going to learn
find
more
out why they call them
when we come back.
Snappers.
Snappers.
For sure.
Say it, Rick.
They will
Say it.
snap you.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Harbor Trucks. Visit harbortrucks.com. Yamaha, reliability starts here. Contender Boats, always in the game. Sirius XM Marine, weather, fishing info, and channel surfing. Daiquiri Deck, Sarasota's favorite place to meet. And Sea Sucker, get pumped.
Harbor Trucks features the largest selection of new and pre-owned trucks in the country.
And this month, it's invoice pricing for everyone.
That's right, you pay what we pay.
Get a brand new 2018 Nissan Titan for only $26,500.
No games, no gimmicks, just hassle-free buying at low prices.
Check us out now at harbortrucks.com and enter to win a 2018 Nissan Titan XD 4x4 diesel.
Meet the water's lightest 25 horsepower four-stroke, the all-new Yamaha F25, the new standard and 25 horsepower portable four-strokes. At just 126 pounds, it's got the best power-to-weight ratio of any 25 horsepower four-stroke on the water. With performance that bests the previous Yamaha F25 and features like Yamaha's VTS for precise trolling speeds, batteryless EFI, built-in resting pads, and carry handles, it's the perfect portable power for small boats.
It's one of the most ancient forms of hide-and-seek known to man. And nobody knows how to play the fishing game better than the backcountry guides and offshore captains of the Florida Keys and Key West. Ready or not, here we come.
Welcome back, everyone. We're now going to take a look at the FWC news and notes. June 2nd, check out the Sarasota PS boating course, and also on June 2nd is the Key West PS boating course. So for more information, visit myfwc.com. Now let's head to the CCA workbench for some rigs and techniques.
Well, we're here at the Academy Sports and Outdoors Rigs and Techniques at the CCA workbench, Dave.
Yes, sir.
And man, you got some cool stuff.
I do, but we're going to talk a little bit about mangrove snapper. They're just a really cool fish because, you know, that you can catch them off the dock in the backyard all the way up to offshore. You know, we've had all the fellas talking about how great they are for starting off young fishermen.
Yep.
You know, they eat readily, and there's usually a lot of them around. So if you're on a dock or someplace, you know, you can usually find them. That's a good thing about it. There's 3 different habitats where they'll be found, you know, around any kind of structure in shallow water, an old boat. If you find an old boat sunk in the water, I guarantee you there's a mangrove snapper on it. A mangrove shoreline, any kind of culverts, any places where an inlet's coming under a bridge, you're going to find them in there. And that's
falls.
Yes, and those are great places to use a little tiny hook and maybe try to catch one for the kids. You know, put it on a little tiny circle hook and put a little piece of shrimp on there. Or any kind of crustacean, really, even a little crab. They'll eat just about anything. But once you start getting a little inshore, near shore, around the big bridges and whatnot, you're getting away from those fish under a pound. Once you start catching those 2 to 5 pounders under big bridges, like over an inlet or in a jetty where there's deep water, the Destin Bridge and up where Patty lives is a great place to catch nice 4 or 5 pound mangrove snappers. Those are the kind of places where you can use a lure. Not only will they eat a little dead bait or, a little shrimp or something, but they'll also eat a lure. And I love to throw anything that looks like a little minnow or, you know, a glass minnow or a little pilchard. A little live pilchard is a great bait for these size fish. You'll probably end up catching way more if you use that. One of my favorite lures there, though, is a gotcha. For around in the salt water, not in the salt water, yeah, but around a place where there's an inlet or a jetty. Me and my brother used to use those things constantly. You bring a bunch of them, you're going to lose a lot of them because you're going to be bouncing it on the bottom and around the rocks and really working it hard. And those mangrove snappers will swarm on those things and eat them. He's my favorite bait. Now, to catch the great big ones, I talked to a couple of my friends, Cy Pazam up in Central Florida and Glenn Cameron in Fort Pierce. Glenn, you know, he's a bottom fishing machine.
Right.
But Cy likes to fish at night. Big mangrove snapper are very, very wary fish. They can see really well. So when you're going at night, you can get away with a lot heavier leader. Cy still uses a 20-pound fluorocarbon leader, and Cy catches, you know, 10, 12, 14-pound mangrove snappers constantly. I mean, he's really, really adept at it. And one of his tricks is Cy says you got to use some chum, but what most people do is they'll chum too much. And if you only have 4 or 5 big mangroves back there, you can fill them up quick. And what he does is he'll get a sardine and he'll stake it really thin, 1/16 of an inch, not even 1/4 of an inch, like little discs. And he'll do a bunch of them before a trip. And he'll sit there and flip out those little discs of sardines, you know, a little bit at a time, and they're getting just it's
like pepperoni on a pizza.
Exactly, they're little pepperonis, little sardine pepperonis, and he'll feed them out there and let them get down there, and then, you know, he'll put a half a sardine on as his bait with a 3/0 hook and that really light leader. He can chum them all the way up to the surface in the summer and the daytime. But Glenn Cameron, he likes to use, he fishes mostly in the day, but he likes to fish at night too. Glenn says the best thing is to be very careful with your leader. He'll even use the mutton snapper 60-foot leader sometimes. Whoa. You know, that long with a triple swivel with a weight, and then a 60-pound. I mean, a 60-foot, 20-pound or 40-pound fluorocarbon leader. He can get away. He says the more current, the longer the leader.
Longer the leader.
Yeah, and he says if they can feel you, then, I mean, if you can feel them, then they can probably feel you. And he said he says you got to let them eat. You open up that bail, let him go, let him go, let him go.
And then when he stops running,
and then you start to wind.
And with a circle hook, just wind.
Just wind, and that's how you catch them. You catch those big ones. They're very, very wary fish.
Guys, really good tips this week on the mangrove snappers. Make sure you use this stuff for, I mean, you're right, Brie?
Exactly. Well, let's put all those good techniques to work in the Yeti Panhandle region and see if Captain Pat Deneen can't get you a snapper or two. Hey, Pat.
Hey, Brie. I'll tell you what. I grew up knowing mangrove snappers as black snappers, and that's what we call them up here in the Yeti region, and they can be caught year-round, Gulf or Bay. The bigger fish are caught in the Gulf. The smaller fish are in the bays. They're known to be very wary, as Dave was just saying, so chumming is a great way to get them fired up. Wherever you fish for them, it's primarily a live bait fishery or a chunk. It's a natural bait fishery using light leaders. The best inshore mangrove snapper fishing occurs late summer, early fall in the Yeti region, around the bridges, the docks, and the marinas. We use in live shrimp, small bait fish, and they're either free-lined or on a Carolina rig. The bay mangroves are going to run to about 12 inches, so they're not the really big ones. The Gulf side is a year-round fishery on natural and man-made structure in 60-plus feet of water, and these are definitely the bigger fish. It's generally an incidental catch while bottom fishing for other fit, red snappers or whatever. But if you want to target the black snappers or the mangrove snappers in the Gulf, chumming is the way to do it. So you chunk them up into the water column and then free line a chunk bait back to them. The Gulf black snappers are averaging several pounds and up. And there's a photo of a 14-pound mangrove caught with Captain Adam Peoples of One Shot Charters fishing on Odessa. And that is a really, really nice mangrove snapper.
That is awesome. Thank you for that picture, Pat. Any other snappers in your region going on?
Starting the 1st of June, red snappers are opening up in federal waters. Basically waters beyond 9 nautical miles from shore. And by all accounts, this season is looking to be a really, really good season for red snapper fishing. There's plenty of fish to be found, both in federal waters but in state waters. But right now, they're opening up 1st of June in federal waters, the 11th of June on state waters. Target structure right now, basically the 1st of June, 100 to 250 feet of water, using live cigar minnows, herrings, or other small bait fish on a Carolina rig with 5 to 6 feet of 40 to 50-pound leader. Drop your bait to the bottom, crank it up 8 to 10 cranks, fish with your rod tip up high. Yeah, I can't stress that enough. Fish with your rod tip high. When you feel the bite, lower that rod tip, and then that gives that fish a little bit of drop back and start cranking, and then you're going to get tight. Often the bigger red snapper are caught well up in the water column or over the sand, pretty good ways away from the structure. The red snappers are, 20 pounds and up are not uncommon. And then moving inshore, speckled trout fishing, like we've been talking the last couple of weeks, have been very good. Inshore, all the rain this past we've had this tropical weather come up here. It's pushed a lot of the fish kind of in the lower parts of the bay systems, particularly over in Pensacola where they got several major river systems feeding that bay. But look for that 3 to 5 foot of bottom, the spotty bottom with grass and sand mix, and drift that area. And we fished this morning throwing DOA soft plastics. We caught a ton of trout. Every time we got a bite, we dropped the power pole, and then we kind of thoroughly fished that area and caught anywhere from 5 to 10 more fish. The midday, you want to look for them on the deeper sides of the flats. The best bait, if you're going to bait fish with them, is going to be a live croaker, 3 to 4 inches long, fish either free-lined or under a float. Pilchards, menhadens, and spot minnows are also great baits. And there's a photo of a really nice speckled trout caught in Santa Rosa Sound this past week while fishing with Captain Chuck Kemper over in Navarre.
What
and
else?
Then finally,
go ahead.
Finally, the redfish. There's been some good reports coming from West Bay over in Panama City, fishing on the grass flats right outside of the tidal creeks, throwing gold spoons. That's a great way to do it, prospecting as you drift along. And then also on the residential docks in Santa Rosa Sound, look for those docks that got a boat on a lift. They generally have a deep hole there, or the docks that have a bigger boat floating there. There's usually a nice hole there, and that's a great place to find those redfish.
All right, thank you so much, Pat Tarr. Great report from the Yeti Panhandle region. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the blue water outrigger hotspots. Pat says inshore, you should go speckled trout fishing over the grass flats in Santa Rosa Sound using live baits under a float. And then offshore, red snapper in federal waters, natural and man-made structure using live cigar minnows.
Sorry, Rick, let's talk about CCA real quick. Star is off to a great start with a lot of fish being caught, including a star-tagged redfish by an unregistered angler in Brevard County. No,
come on, guys.
I know,
really?
Which means there's no winner yet. So remember, it's not the biggest fish that wins in Star, as most division winners are determined by a random drawing. With 11 species and 17 divisions, there's something for anglers of all skill levels. So if you are fishing this summer, you should be registered to win your share of $500,000 of prizes and scholarships. Registration is open until September 3rd at ccafloridastart.com.
Oh man,
I just get
We're
so
trying
upset
to give
for you
you
guys.
stuff.
I know. Don't worry, guys and gals. We've got more regions coming your way, starting with the Central West region and then heading over to the East region. So stay hooked, and we'll be right back.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Power Pole, Swift, Silent, Secure, Bass Assassin and Saltwater Assassin. The best lures, period. Blue Water Outriggers, everything for your outdoor adventures. The American Fishing Tackle Company, any fish, any water, since 1958. Costa Sunglasses, see what's out there. And Casa Vieja Lodge, 5-star angling in beautiful Guatemala.
I'm Captain Rick Murphy, and I'm a life member of CCA. Why am I so involved with CCA, you ask? Because I want our fisheries to be in better shape for my kids and their kids. CCA is working to ensure the future of recreational fisheries and the rights of recreational anglers. The future of fishing starts today with you. How do you want to leave things with your kids? If you're like me, you'll want to make the right choice and go to joinccaflorida.com right now.
As close as you're going to get to a sure thing for catching billfish is Guatemala.
They're here, man. This has been a 20-year run, buddy. These things haven't left. There's no cycle.
When it comes to sail fishing, this is the real deal.
The amount of sailfish here is ridiculous.
Harbor Trucks features the largest selection of new and pre-owned trucks in the country, an on-site towing and test course, and a team of truck specialists. Come line up every make and model in one location and find the truck of your dreams, or we'll build it custom for you. Harbor Trucks, hassle-free buying, and low, low, low prices. Check us out now at harbortrucks.com or 2 miles off I-75 in Port Charlotte, Florida.
So hey guys, we're here in Alabama at the Yamaha Testing Center, and the new thing from Yamaha is the XTO Offshore. Now let's talk about this big, beautiful motor. It's a 5.6 liter, normally aspirated, so it's direct injection, creating a lot of torque and a lot of horsepower, 425 to be exact. The beautiful thing about this, at most standard RPMs, 3,000 RPMs, we have up to 3,000 pounds of pressure, which gives us a lot of fuel that's flowing. Now, when we ran this motor on the triples, on the contenders, we got up to 74 miles an hour going downstream, which is considerably fast with triple motors. The other thing that comes to mind with the new XTO Offshore is that we have this steering is built in, so it's all electronic, and when you match this with Helm Master, you have the ability to do all kinds of cool things. So you can take the weight of the steering right out of the boat. Another feature for you guys that do a lot of trolling for wahoos or even potentially dolphin offshore, now we have no more through hub exhaust, and what that means is the whitewash that's behind the boat is very, very minimal. We did a little testing while we were here, and we found that that really changes things. The other thing, that not having the exhaust going through the propeller, it also gives you the ability when you go in reverse to have reverse like you've never seen before. We also have the 16-inch diameter props, the one on the contenders with 25 pitch, and we're able to cook down the river at 72 miles an hour. So if you're thinking about repowering or maybe a new boat, make sure you check out the new stuff that Yamaha has in the XTO Offshore. Brie, in one word, impressive. And if you've got any questions, just go to YamahaOutboards.com. You can see a whole bunch of different videos, not just a 2-minute one that we just put on there for
Exactly, but it was really good video.
Oh, thank you so much.
Well, Rick, we have an exciting contest with Harbor Trucks.
Yes, we do.
And one lucky person will win a 2018 Nissan Titan XD Diesel SV 4x4, and the winner will be chosen at the end of the year. So to enter, like Harbor Trucks on Facebook and share or tag friends on any post for more chances to win. Sounds like a no-brainer to me, Rick. I mean,
it's
I
so
love to
easy.
win one of these
It's a matter of a click, a boom, and a boom.
A click, and a like, and a share. There, you got it.
Oh,
look
boy.
at me.
You
Look
saw
at me
that?
go. I can
She
dance.
got moves
I got
still.
the moves. All right, so speaking of a truck lover himself, the Star-Tron Central West Region Mangroves are ready to play, and Captain Jeff Page is going to tell you the rules. So go for it, Page.
Yeah, that new steering just blew me away. Seeing that new steering system you were telling me about in that 425, that's just incredible.
All electronics, no more hydraulic hoses, Captain Page.
You were telling me about it, but just watching that was amazing. But anyway, back to the snappers in the Star-Tron Central West region. That mangrove snapper is probably one of our main species that is sought after out in the Gulf of Mexico over areas of hard bottom, ledges, reefs, and throughout the entire region. Not to mention during the summer months, we catch them in the passes and even on the grass flats inshore. But we're talking about the offshore bite right now. Pretty much this time of year, 55 feet of water on out, guys like to start. And you know what? We're approaching the full moon right now. That nighttime snapper bite in June and July can be epic. Spawning purposes, if you can't get out at night, you know what? In the daytime, the key, Rick, is getting your boat set up properly. And we were talking about it today about what Randy always says, not over-chumming, but chumming those fish up before you even start casting a line out. Mixture of live and cut sardines works real well. Fresh pilchards, pinfish are the bait of choice, and even live shrimp can sometimes work real good when they're acting finicky. Like I said, 65 feet of water on out. This is the time of year. You know what? The bigger fish like to hold out in that 110-foot range. It's not uncommon to get snapper up to 10 pounds, but the average offshore snapper weighs anywhere from 3 to 6 pounds. Don't be surprised while you're snapper fishing if you don't catch a decent red or gag grouper. We got a snapper photo tonight. Captain Eric White of Venice, a happy client, he got one that was right at 10 pounds.
Whoa,
wow.
That's a good one. Eric's a tremendous fisherman. All right, tell me about some groupers, Paige.
Gag grouper, you know what? Before all these rains we had, the grouper bite was really firing off. And the reports I'm getting, guys that have gotten offshore today and yesterday, it hasn't phased it too much. Ledges, hard bottom, live pinfish, as well as some cut sardines. Captain Jason Stocks reporting good numbers of gag groupers in that 75 to 100 feet of water off Anna Maria Island. To the south, again, Eric White fan, good gag, same depth. You know what? Looking for fish holding on smaller areas of hard bottom and ledges. And once you get them, don't stay on the one area too long. Get a couple fish and move on. And the neat thing about today's technology with all these bottom machines is while you're moving to another spot, it's not uncommon to come across a new spot to try out. I've got a gag grouper photo tonight of a couple guys that were fishing with Mike Mahoney of T.A. Mahoney's. That's Tom, I might get his name wrong, Larange, and Mark Fexwalks with a nice gag they got with Mike Mahoney. Moving inshore, tarpon. You know what? Before the rain, the tarpon bite was going off, but I've been out there and they're firing on probably 4 out of 6 cylinders right now. Look for that to improve as we get into the weekend. Early morning, live crab, late afternoon, threadfins, and the outgoing tide on the backsides of the bar with cork crabs. I've got a tarpon photo tonight of Tom Borshin with a big fish he got last week. And final species, redfish, one thing I can tell you is all this rainwater, he got rid of some of that clarity and the reds are fighting a lot better. You know what? Emerson Point, south of Long Bar, Rick, up on the higher stages of the tides, around the shoreline and oyster bars. I've got a good redfish photo tonight of Tampa Captain Mike Goodwine of Blackneck Adventures.
All right, Paige, thank you so much. Good report from the Star-Tron Central West region. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the daiquiri deck hotspots. Captain Page says that offshore amberjacks are holding on the wrecks and ledges in 85 to 100 feet of water off of Venice, and then snook. Nighttime fishing remains strong on the docks and bridges around Longboat Pass.
All right, we want to remind you about our Harbor Truck Seminar
Please.
coming up on June 14th in Port Charlotte at 4:30 p.m. Come on out and meet Captain Rick Murphy, Dave Ferrell, and Jeffrey Page, who will be there to answer any and all of your questions. Well, maybe not all of them, but most of them.
Giveaways.
Lots of giveaways, which is always fun. So we hope to see you guys there.
Please.
All right, the full moon sometimes brings out the crazy and the weird in people, but in the East region, Captain Mike Holliday says this new and full moon brings out the crazy in fish, which I like the sound of. So tell us more, Mike.
Isn't that the truth, Brie? We're coming off the full moon in May. That's the first month when the mangrove snapper really stack up on the reefs and wrecks in my region. They come out on the full moon, they come out on the new moon, they stack up. By far the best snapper action in my region takes place along the natural reef bottom, north and south of Fort Pierce, in 60 to 80 feet of water. You'll also find them on artificial reefs like the Halsey, the David T., the Shrimper. You'll find them along the Loran Tower Ledge and also on the natural reef in 60 to 100 feet of water off Palm Beach County. When you want to target them, you just anchor up, put out a chum bag, add to the ground chum with glass minnows or pilchards. Give the fish, 30 minutes or so to respond to the chum before you're fishing them. Now, one thing you want to know, we've had a cold water upwelling from the St. Lucie Power Plant all the way south to Jupiter Inlet. So if you're out there bottom fishing, you reel up your bait, you feel the sinker, if it feels cold, you want to move further out, try and find that warmer water. For baits, pilchard, sardines, cigar minnows, bonita chunks, ballyhoo chunks, squid, those are all good snapper bait. Average mangrove snapper in region is going to be 1 to 4 pounds, but we catch fish to 10, 11, 12 pounds all the time. I got a photo there. That's Tom Lutton with a nice mangrove snapper he caught. He was fishing in 70 feet of water off Jensen Beach with Captain Jonathan Earhart of Chaos Fishing Adventures. The other thing that's been going on, there's been a great blackfin tuna bite in 150 to 300 feet of water from Boynton Inlet all the way up to St. Lucie Inlet. The best actions off Lake Worth. It seems like the largest fish are most active early and late in the day, but you can catch fish all through the day, mostly smaller fish that they're catching in the middle of the day. The majority of anglers catching blackfin are trolling. They're picking them up by shotgunning a small pink and blue or a silver or a red and black feather out behind the boat, way back behind the normal lines. You can also drift with live baits like goggle eyes or pilchards or Spanish sardines, and it helps the live chum with pilchards or glass minnows to bring the tuna in close to the boat where they can find your baits. The average blackfin is going to be 10 to 15 pounds, but there's plenty of fish out there right now that are over 25 pounds.
Now, Mike, before you go any further inshore, I want to take a second and talk about the SiriusXM Marine weather that we have now. And just let me tell you guys, we're talking this week about the sea temps. Now, the sea temps on my chart plotter, as you can tell, we have different colors of sea temps. Now, obviously, the red is warmer. We got a red area down there off of Key West in the Gulf of Mexico. I see another one here off of Andros on the bank where the bonefish and the permit gather this time of year. Now, as we zoom in, what you're going to see is a nice, beautiful, warm area there right off of Freeport and Grand Bahama. Now, what I know happens this time of year is that this is where the bait simply collects. And while it does that, we're gonna travel down the edge with our boat using the chart plotter to understand exactly where it is. And more importantly, this bait is going to attract different types of tuna, blackfin and yellowfin, and the Dorados. But guess who feeds on them? The white marlin and the blue marlin, and I know the fellas are catching them over there right now. Now, if you guys have any information that you want to know about SiriusXM, you can simply go to SiriusXM.com/CFIFR. There's a link with special rebates as well as promotions that are going on there. Remember this, in the color gradients, they measure the different water temperatures in 1 degree increments. So it's very, very accurate, and it allows you to be in the right place at the right time. All right, Mike, what do you got for me inshore?
Well, I always look at June 1st as a kickoff to our tarpon season, and a point when I can consistently target them both inshore and along the beaches. The first of the tarpon schools are pushing north out of the Keys and up the beach in their, in their normal northern migration. Some of those fish will stop in our inlets and move inshore, and those fish will compose the resident populations that you'll find around Boy Scout camp, the Boy Scout camp up in the Loxahatchee River, Big and Little Mud Creeks, Harbor Ridge, Harbor Branch, the moorings, all the normal, summertime haunts. On the beaches, you target those migrating schools with live crabs, with mullet, with red fins, or dark-colored flies. around the inlets. You can slow troll a live mullet, or you can drift them out the inlet with the tides. For the inshore population, I like to put a couple of live mullet out behind the boat and then cast to the rolling fish that I see ahead of the boat, throw in a saltwater assassin, 4-inch Houdini-colored shad. Now, the average tarpon on the beach is going to be like 50 to 100 pounds, and the average fish inshore is going to be more like 20 to 50 pounds, so you can gear down to 20-pound tackle. The other thing we got going on, the spotted sea trout bite in the Indian River is really just kind of a fraction of what it was in May just 5 years ago. But if you put in the time, you can find some really nice fish. What the bite lacks in numbers, it makes up for in big fish. The best stuff by far is from the St. Lucie power plant all the way up to Vero Beach. But there's still a few fish being caught in the St. Lucie and in the Loxahatchee River, mostly around the docks at night. The largest sea trout are coming from around the Spoil Islands, both north and south of Vero Beach. And the bite's been more on the outgoing tide when those fish are pushed off the flats and into those deeper cuts that are dug out around those islands. If you're on the water at first light, you can throw topwater plugs, a 5-inch dye dapper in black and gold, or any of the mullet colors will work really well. And then as the sun gets up, the fish move a little deeper and will chase a live mullet, a croaker, a pilchard, or a pinfish, fished under a cork on 30-pound leader, and a 4.0 VMC Kale hook. I got a photo there. That's Mia Frederick with a 29-inch sea trout. She caught that in the St. Lucie River. She was fishing with Captain John Young, working along some seawalls, and that fish ate a live mullet.
All right, Hollywood, each week we want to get a bass report. What's this fresh water done to the bass fishing, bub?
Well, with all the rain we've had, the water level in Lake Okeechobee is rising, and it's already above 14 feet. That's moved a lot of fish back into the grass in the areas around the Monkey Box and Tin House Cove. There's still a good bite in 2 to 4 feet of water, as the bigger bass are still focused on the bedding bluegill. So this is a time of year when you fish frogs in the Kissimmee grass, or you cast skitterwalks or a devil horse plug into those open potholes for those explosive surface bites. If numbers are what you're after, look for seagulls at turns, dive it on the shad schools at dawn, toss a white spinnerbait or a shad-colored swim bait for the schooling fish, or you can grab, 6 to 10 dozen shiners, work the outside grass lines. That's where you get a lot of big fish. Average bass on Lake Okeechobee is like 1 to 3 pounds, but there are a lot of 4 to 6 pound fish, even 8-pound fish in the mix right now.
Thank you so much, Hollywood. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the Atlas Jack Plate hotspots from the East region. Inshore, whiting, croaker, and pompano in the surf south of Hobe Sound Beach. Use sand flea, shrimp, clams, or fish bites on a triple hook surf rig. And then offshore, mutton snappers in 70 to 80 feet of water between Jupiter Inlet and Hobe Sound, pilchard, sardines, cigar minnows on a 40-foot long leader, and maybe 60-pound test fluorocarbon should be where you start, Brie.
Ain't mutton to it. All right, everyone, we're motoring right along here on the Florida Insider Fishing Report, and we're bringing you your keys, Captain, next. But first, we have to see what new products Dave has for us over here.
That was painful.
I know,
There ain't nothing to it.
Mutton. You can't even do it.
I couldn't even do it.
What do you have for us, Dave?
This is going to be some fire. We're on fire. We're on fire.
Okay.
We're on fire in the far turn.
We'll be back.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors. For all, for less. The Florida Keys and Key West. Come as you are. FWC, the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission. Soft Science, Supreme Comfort Footwear. Real Legends, exclusively at Bell's. And Maverick Boat Group, makers of premium boat brands Maverick, Hughes, and Pathfinder.
Yamaha's 4.2-liter V6 offshore 4-strokes. For those that like their V6 lighter, faster, and stronger. Setting new standards for power, efficiency, speed, and lightweight. Built for the rigors of offshore boating. Packed with Yamaha's legendary reliability. And now Yamaha's 4.2-liter V6 4-strokes offer a choice between digital or mechanical controls to match your rigging preference. Yamaha. Reliability starts here.
we need. We need next quarter so we can respond to everyone.
Yeah? Stop working right now! Look outside. Is this spreadsheet weather? No, it's not. This is fishing weather. So stop clicking, get out there, and catch a bass. Stop what you're doing and start fishing Rapala ripstop.
This is Academy Sports and Outdoors. We offer a huge sports and outdoors selection of top name brand gear like you've never seen. All at low prices like you've never seen. Because we're a sports and outdoor store like you've never seen. Visit us in store or at academy.com for the guaranteed lowest prices. Academy Sports and Outdoors, for all for less.
Well, we're here at the CCA workbench, and Dave, you
Yes,
know,
sir.
new
We are.
products is one of my favorite parts about this show.
Why not?
Right?
Yep. Today we're going to talk about some VMC Octopus hooks. Those are the Coastal Black, $71.99 CB. CB stands for Coastal Black. They come in 13 different sizes from a little 6/0, a number 6, all the way up to 9/0. So you can catch these mangrove snappers, which is these would be perfect for, or all the way up to a big tuna fish. You know, the 200-pound tuna. As a matter of fact, a lot of guys use octopus hooks for tuna fishing. You know,
correct.
They have an offset. They're a little bit offset. They have the turned eye on them, so you can put a snell on them if you want to,
Right.
really tight. They're forged from high carbon steel, so even though they're really small and thin, they're very strong. And that's the whole thing.
Signature of the Coastal Black.
And it should be every hook's signature, because nowadays, you know, a lot of guys are getting smaller and smaller with the hooks because they realize that they really penetrate. And these have a really needle point on them. They're chemically sharpened, so they come out of the package really ultra sharp, and they're very thin, so they penetrate really well. So check out those VMC hooks at vmchooks.com.
What's next here at New Products?
Well, we got some Suffix 832 Advanced Super Line. Now, we've talked about the Coastal Camo before, but they just came out with an 8-pound test.
Correct.
Just came out with 8-pound. We haven't even gotten an 8-pound spool yet.
Right.
But they just came out with it. It's super, super thin. It's the strongest, most durable, small diameter braid that you can get. I mean, and I don't say that lightly. It's the R8 precision braiding is really strong. Keeps the line round, which you don't want to flatten out. It ties really good knots, and it's consistent. You know, and that's the hard part about braid, is keeping it consistent from start to finish.
And one strand of the 8 strands, that's why it's 832, is gore.
Yep.
So what I noticed, Dave, is it repels water.
Right.
So I see water come up to the tip, but I never have any spray on my reels.
Right. Well, they're very nice, and that 32 stands for 32 weaves per inch. So it makes it very, very tightly wound, and it's just a really good, really good. And the gore actually provides a great abrasion resistance and increased casting distance.
Absolutely.
So that's what the good
and
thing about that.
And it comes in some different colors other than blue for the camo.
Yeah, but I love that. I love the
Me
blue,
too.
and I
Me
also
too.
love
It's
the
my
very
favorite.
small diameter of it. All right, these are some Costa sunglasses. That first one there is called the Cape. It's an extra large frame, perfect for a guy like me with a giant face and a small head.
Giant.
And they're got 100% polycarbonate lens, 580p, ultra wide temples to prevent eye fatigue. And take them off real quick. Feel these temples right here at the back. They're very, very flexible, so they don't grab you in the back. Some glasses will pressure on the back of my ear and give me a headache. These won't do it. Hydrolyzed nose and temple guards. Vents on the side to keep the wind blowing in.
So the air goes through that vent so they don't fog up.
Right. Perfect sport fishing. And they also, here real quick, we got the Montauk's. They're made for fishing functionality as too. Again, a large frame, full wrap to keep the sun coming from the sides. Again, they've got good big vents on the front to keep the lenses clean.
I want you to know Kathy really likes these on me.
I like them too.
Look at me. My whole demeanor changed, because I know she told me I look good in the blue, baby.
Yep, they're designed to block all the peripheral light to keep from coming in from the side. You'll see sometimes even I'll be out there and I'll have to put my hands up on my glasses because Sometimes I don't wear the ones with the wide temples, but you don't have to do it with those.
30 seconds.
Oh,
Fire
well,
striker.
Hurry up to the Smith's, the Edge Sport Pocket Pal. This thing, you can take it with you everywhere. It's got a fire starter I was popping around. It's got a compass. It's got an LED light. It's got the really nice little rod for sharpening. You got the ceramic and the carbide steel sharpeners. It's got an LED light and a compass. You know, if you get lost out there, you could, Naked and Afraid guy would love to take this with him. If I could have one tool and be naked and afraid, it's going to be that one. So if I'm naked, everybody's afraid.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
I don't have anything for that.
No, you
I just
certainly
got
don't.
a visual. That was not good.
Oh,
okay,
thank you very much.
Filling in for Randy Tao, today's Captain Mark Johnson with the latest and greatest coming out of the Florida Keys. So, Mark, if you're ready, let's get started.
Okay, hello everybody. Mark Johnson here. Something about Naked and Afraid. Fantastic.
Yep.
So we're going to start on the inshore. Tell me what we're doing. Got mangrove snapper, it looks like. So when we talk about the mangrove snappers, it's one of our favorite eating fish here in the Keys, and you can catch these fish on the bay side as well as on the ocean side. To fish in the backcountry, it's usually around the mangrove island, where some of the trees that are left over from the Hurricane Irma that you find out in the middle of the bay. They've been holding some really nice snappers, and that's something new for a lot of the fishermen. Cut bait like ballyhoo or the mullet or pinfish will yield your bigger snappers in the backcountry, and you don't want to use anything heavier than about 15-pound heads for your leader. No chumming required in the bay, but you certainly, if you're on the ocean side in that 30 to 50 feet of water on that rocky bottom, you want to use at least a block of chum to get those fish going. Live pilchards and cut bait will work very well, and you want no more than about a 30-pound leader, preferably that fluorocarbon stuff when you're fishing on the ocean, that clear water. And I think you got a really nice picture of Annie from Charleston with a really nice big mangrove snapper that I know made it for dinner.
Yeah, you're right. She better be careful kissing that fish. She leave her in a bad situation, you know what I mean, bub? All right, tell me about the tarpon fishing.
Yes, I do. Hey, the tarpon fight has still been pretty fair around most of the bridges, but it seems like right now the early morning and the late in the afternoon have been more successful than the middle of the day. For some reason, the live mullet is still being the best bait, whether you're fishing on the drift or sitting on the anchor around the bridge. And with this overcast and stormy conditions we've had, the water temperatures have dropped quite a bit, which has made the fish a little finicky to find and catch. But that's why the mullet are working a little better than the crabs right now, because of that cooler water, and they're a much more active bait than the crab. And if you're a fly fisherman, it's been a real struggle the last couple of the weeks with the rain and the conditions, not able to see. And casting to the fish on the ocean side has been really, really tough. There's still some fish moving, but again, really hard to see them. And if you can't see them, it's hard to get that good cast to them.
All right, let's go offshore, Mark.
Offshore, what do you do this time of year is dolphin fishing. So you're looking for those birds as soon as you get off the reef. And believe it or not, a lot of these fish have been seen in the shallow water, and you're talking in that 150-foot range. And you're trolling with those guys. You can catch them a lot of different ways. You can catch them on spinning gear, light tackle, skunk bait. You can troll ballyhoo. They're a lot of fun to catch. They're very popular this time of year. They make great table fish. Then we got blackfin tunas. So, again, with this bad weather we've been having, being overcast and stormy, these rainy conditions, that's always a prime time for some good tuna fishing. The offshore humps, and especially the Key West area, have been hot spots for some great tuna action. The offshore humps here in Islamorada and the Marathon zone as well have been holding plenty of tunas, and depending on how you want to catch them, the most has been on the small size, and you got the mediums and the large mixed in. And your basic 3 to 6 pounders come from trolling those dark feathers. Your little bigger tunas come from the live bait and the vertical jigging guys. And the real fat tunas, the big 20 to 30 pounders, are always come from the live bait, pilchards being everybody's favorite. Captain Chris Crossley with Real Fly Charters in Key West, one of the best guys at catching the big tunas on light tackle. Now you have a really nice photo with his angler Mike catching a 34-pound blackfin. What a fish that is.
That's a stud. Nice. Tell me about the mutton snappers, Mark.
Mutton snapper, the guys are catching a lot of them this time of year, and this year as a whole has been great. And they're biting up and down the reef. In the upper Keys, you can find them off the reef out to about 200 feet of water and on some of the deeper wrecks. Down toward the Marathon area, it's the same, and Key West, plenty of action on the reef and the rocky bottom, even way to the west of Key West. Again, live bait like the pilchard or ballyhoo are everybody's favorite, with a long leader to keep that bait away from your lead. And you want to use just enough lead to hold that bait on the bottom, which your lead gets less as you use a lighter line. And when conditions prevail, a lot of guys like to try to drift for the mutton snappers, and when you get a bite or two, it'll give you an area to start really concentrate on to find those fish laying up. And then I think Captain George Campbell with the Snapshot Charters out of Calusa Cove is a really fantastic bottom fishing guy, and he specializes in the mutton snappers. And there's a photo of him with a handful of some really nice muttons in the range.
Wow, thank you so much, Mark. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the hot spots from the Florida Keys. Inshore tarpon fish the bridges early in the morning and late in the afternoon. The live mullet is still working the best. And then offshore, dolphin are starting to show up underneath the birds. As soon as you get off the reef line, look for them in as shallow as 150 feet of water, Brie.
All right, Rick, there's always tournaments going on in the Keys, so let's take a look at what's coming up.
All right.
This weekend's Skipper's Dolphin Tournament is scheduled for Friday through Sunday in Key Largo. There's more than $60,000 in cash and prizes. The weekend silver edition of the Lower Keys Dolphin Tournament is scheduled for Friday through Sunday and offers up more than $35,000 in cash prizes and awards. The Veterans of Foreign Wars Fishing Tournament, set for Saturday, June 9th in Key West, is a family-oriented tournament offering cash prizes in different divisions. Hosted by the Florida Keys Elks Lodge, the Ladies Dolphin Tournament is set for June 8th and 9th in the Upper Keys. It welcomes female angler teams to compete for the highest aggregate weight of 3 dolphin fish. Cash and prizes are to be awarded. And now let's check in with Andy Newman to see what featured tournaments he has for us. Andy, go for it.
Oh, hey, Bree. So this one is for you and the other ladies out there. It is the Ladies Let's Go Fishing the Screaming Reels Tournament, set for June 22nd and 23rd in Alamorada. Now, this is a casual angling contest, great for beginning anglers that are going to be pursuing inshore and offshore species. Division for heaviest offshore fish, longest inshore fish, and drawing for prizes for anyone catching at least one fish. For details, ladiesletsgofishing.com. And, of course, Rick and Bree, more information on all tournaments in the Florida Keys and summer vacation information always goes to flakeys.com.
Thank you so much,
Perfect, Andy. Thank you. Speaking of summer, Rick, my all-time favorite show is coming up. Our annual kids show is June 27th at our studios in North Miami. If you and your kids want to be part of the audience, simply sign up on our website, FloridaInsiderFishingReport.com. We're going to have educational and fun interactive stations with games, prizes, and more. Kids of all ages are welcome, and we hope to see you there. I know, Rick, you like that one too.
I love it.
It's super fun. All right, next up, we're headed to the Northeast and Northwest regions, and we're going to see what's sizzling over here with Miss Taylor Sanders, Miss Chef Galore. Smells good in here. And remember, if you want to keep up with everything fishing in Florida, all you have to do is visit our website, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, watch us on YouTube, and view and tag us on Instagram. We'll be right back.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Rapala. Catch the latest at Rapala.com. Startron cures and prevents ethanol fuel problems. Yeti, built for the wild. CCA Florida, the voice of recreational anglers for over 30 years. Strike Zone Fishing, your fish hunt paddle store. And Guy Harvey, marine wildlife artist and conservationist.
Real Legends Performance Clothing. Everything you need to be comfortable on the water all day long. Keeps you cool, dry, and protected from the sun. Durable performance technology at an unbeatable value. Shop anytime or go to reallegends.com to find a Bell store near you.
Trucks is giving away a brand new 2018 Nissan Titan XD with the Cummins Turbo Diesel.
To enter, like our Facebook page and visit harbortrucks.com for more ways to win.
With the largest selection of new and pre-owned trucks in the country.
An on-site towing and test course.
Hassle-free buying and low, low, low prices.
Harbor Trucks is the place to buy.
Flagler Construction Equipment is your certified Volvo equipment dealer, servicing 55 counties in Florida. With Volvo, you get brute strength combined with bulletproof durability. That means low downtime and optimal production. Flagler Construction Equipment is the partner for all your Volvo sales, service, and rental needs, and your first and last stop for legendary customer service and support. Push boundaries with Volvo. Get to know Flagler Construction Equipment by stopping by one of our 6 locations or visit us on the web at www.flaglerce.com.
Well, as you can see, guys, I have Chef Taylor Sanders. And Taylor, a couple years ago, you won the Food Network's Kids Barbecue Championship.
I did.
You were here last year. You cooked on the fire disc for us. Tonight, we're talking about mangrove snapper, one of the most popular species for dinner.
Yeah.
So what do you got prepared for us tonight?
Okay, Rick, so tonight I'm going to be making some pan-seared mangrove snapper over on top of a cilantro rice, and to top it all off, a fresh mango salsa.
All right, so typically we're going to start with a fillet.
Yep.
Now, is there any specific, go ahead and put that in there, and while it's sizzling, oh, I like it already. Is there a certain size fillet that you like, Taylor?
Just anywhere from about that big, just a decent portion.
A little bigger than the hand?
Perfect, yep.
Okay, so now you said something about some type of salsa. So what are the ingredients needed to create this salsa while that's cooking?
So I'm making a mango salsa. I personally love mango. So within the mango salsa, you have some green bell peppers, some red bell peppers, a little bit of jalapeno just for some spice, and some onion. So we're gonna add those in. This is the red bell pepper and the green bell pepper and some onion and some jalapeno.
All right.
And then I'm just gonna add some of our mango in here, and this is, I cut this fresh.
I'm a mango man, but I always want you to know, you're going down the right road from me.
And just a little bit of cilantro in there, and a little bit of lime juice. And
now, is this lime or key lime?
These are key limes.
Oh.
Yes. Found those at the grocery store and thought they would be perfect.
I think you thought right down the road. So now, what are we going to serve this over?
We're gonna serve this over some cilantro lime rice. This is one of my specialty dishes, and I absolutely love it. This is it right here. It's just cooked rice, and you put a little lime juice in it and a little bit of cilantro, and it is delicious over some fish. I love some citrus and some acid with my fish, so it works perfectly with that.
Now, Taylor, if you don't like mango, what kind of substitute would you suggest?
You can use, I make a peach salsa. You can do a regular pico de gallo and use tomatoes. You can also do peaches. I love that. And watermelon is really good in it too.
Watermelon?
Yeah.
So for the sake of TV, we've completed one of the dishes here. This is what you're talking about. You're gonna create this bed of rice. You can use brown or white, I suppose. And certainly we have
our mango snapper.
Mango snapper with our salsa over the top.
It is, yes.
What mistake do we typically make when cooking fish, Taylor?
One is not putting enough oil or just fat in the pan, and then it just sticks to it and it's a whole mess. So make sure you have enough oil or grease of some sort in the pan so it doesn't get stuck. And make sure not to overcook it, because if you overcook fish, it's just not good.
Now, if people want to follow you, do you have a Facebook, Instagram? Why don't you tell everybody where they can follow you?
You can follow me on Instagram at Chef Taylor Sanders and Facebook at Chef Taylor. So yeah.
I'm so proud. You did a wonderful job, Brie.
Yes.
We might have a star here in our cooking.
We do. She's only 15. She's going to prom this weekend, and she's an amazing chef. Oh, man, she's great. All right, Captain Jeff Hageman in the Flagler Construction Equipment Northwest region has got the mangroves, if that's what you're looking for, and he's going to tell you how to catch them up. Tell him, Mag.
That got me hungry. That sounds delicious.
It smells good.
Oh, I bet. Mangrove snapper, we've got them throughout my entire region, both inshore and offshore. Inshore, they can be found around docks, bridges, any high-relief structure of the inshore reefs and wrecks we have. Offshore, any high-relief structure too, rock piles, wrecks, artificial reefs as well. They can be a little picky. You guys talked about this throughout the segment. So as light a fluorocarbon leader as you can get away with is your best bet. Smallest hook, smallest lead, everything downsized, because they've got great eyesight and can get a little picky. A tail hook shrimp's hard to beat in my region. Small pinfish, sardine, or other great baits, either on a standard or bottom rig. Chumming will also get these fish fired up in a frenzy. So the more chum you can get out there, the more you can get them feeding, the more bites you're going to get. Also, we got a moon coming up right now, and this following moon after this one will be when they're spawning. So they'll start getting in tighter groups, and you'll be able to target some of those bigger fish. So a night trip might be something you guys might want to do right now. This next one will be a good spot bite. Moving offshore, Captain John Lane of JB Charters out of Apalachicola Bay reports a good red snapper bite right now. He's using live shrimp on a 1/0 circle hook, and he's drifting it back in a heavy chum line with 30 to 40 pound fluorocarbon leader. His fish right now are averaging anywhere from 6 to 15 pounds, and he's fishing the reefs around 60 to 70 feet of water. Moving a little further south, Captain Harry Connor of Hook'em Harry Charter reports his bite right now is in that 90 to 150 feet of water on high relief structure, and his fish are averaging anywhere from 8 to 15 pounds also. Cut sardines on a standard knocker rig will do the trick. And I've got a photo from Captain John with some nice ARSs.
Nice photo there, Hag. All right.
Moving inshore, Captain Bobby Cannon of Florida Saltwater Flats Charters out of Stein Hatchery reports the redfish bite in the Big Bend area is getting stronger. With an early bite in the morning, he's using lures in the gold color. Both trout and reds have been blowing up topwater baits first thing in the morning. The trout have been moving into deeper water on the outgoing tide. Using jig heads and soft plastics has been the best bet. The incoming water seems to be pushing the reds up in the creeks and grass lines, and he's throwing a live target scaled sardine right up to the grass and working it out. He said that's been doing the trick. Moving a little further south, Captain Jimbo Keefe of Saltwater Assassin Fishing Charters at a Cedar Key reports the redfish bite's been pretty steady on the incoming and outgoing tides around the oyster bars. Caught mullet fished on a knocker rig is producing most of the fish on his charters. The tarpon bite has been good so far this summer and will continue to get better after this blow's gone away. Most of our fish right now have been moved offshore to hide from the winds, the seas, and the dirty water that the storm has stirred up. But they'll be returning real soon to the beaches and passes and grass flats in my region in the next couple of days. Crabs, threadfins, pinfish are going to be your best bait for them. And I've got a photo here of some of you guys all know. Well, that's Allie with her first tarpon ever.
Nice.
Nice,
There's our little Allie girl.
Good go, girl.
Good job, Hag.
You're so proud.
All right, man. What else you got for me?
That's my report for the region.
You done?
I'm done.
I like it. Thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the hot spots from the Yeti Northwest region. Actually, the Flagler construction region. I can't even keep up. Inshore, tarpon along the beaches and passes and grass flats use pinfish, crabs, threadfin, herring, free line under a cork, and then offshore, gag groupers on the rock piles, as well as ledges in 75 to 130 feet of water use pinfish and pigfish for bait on a standard bottom rig.
Man, Rick, you're just still in Cookland over there, smelling all those fish. It's
Yeah,
messing you
man.
up. We got Tommy Derringer here from the Strike Zone Northeast region, back in his element. We miss you, Tommy. How's it going up there?
It's going good. It stopped raining, so that's a good thing.
That's
Yeah,
a good
man, that's
thing.
a start, right?
That's a start, right?
All right, speaking
Well,
of
you know
start,
what,
let's
guys?
get started.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? We've got some Mama Jamma mangrove snapper here in the Strike Zone Northeast region. We got some big ones. Now, you're probably going to hear me talk about them a lot over the next month or so because those fish are just starting to spawn and they're going to get fired up. And we probably don't have the best inshore mangrove snapper fishery, but we do get some of the biggest mangoes in the state offshore. And I spoke to Captain Billy Hunsicker from EndlessSummerCharters.com. He tells me they've started to catch some of those big ones over the last couple of weeks. Billy says you're typically gonna find those mangoes on the bigger ledges and somewhere around 120 to 140 feet of water. He likes to use live sardines on the bottom with a long 60 to 80 pound fluorocarbon leader. And he says the full moon is what really gets him going. You know, we just came off that full moon earlier in the week, but there's still some big fish around right now. But leading up to the next full moon in June, those snapper are really going to be spawning. And the average size of those fish up here is going to be between 8 to 12 pounds, with some fish even over that 15-pound mark. And in fact, Billy said that he's got a client and he's broken over 10 IGFA line class records over the years fishing for those mangrove snapper during the month of June. Now, one fun way to catch those mangrove snapper is to chum them up to the surface. You know, when they start to spawn, you can start chumming them up using chunks of sardines. And you're going to want to downsize your gear a little bit. Use a long 20 to 30 pound fluorocarbon leader with a smaller VMC circle hook. And you can just float one of those chunks of sardine back in with the chum. Now, we also do have a pretty decent mangrove snapper bite happening inshore right now. Just about any of the docks around the Palm Coast area, they're holding some decent sized snapper. Now I've got a picture here. This is Cecilia with one of those monster Mamma Jamma mangoes I was talking about that she recently caught aboard the Endless Summer with Captain Billy. Now staying offshore, there's been a little bit of a thermocline that's moved in offshore, making the trolling bite a little tougher way out there. But you know what? The kingfish have started to show up pretty good over this last week. There's both numbers of fish and, a few big ones around as well on the nearshore stuff. Areas like 9 Mile Reef and Interplane. You just troll a live pogie. That's going to be the ticket right now. And I spoke to Captain Rob Bennett, and he's been catching them pretty good out there this week. He's trolling some baits up top, but he's having better luck running a pogie about 40 foot down on that downrigger. Now, Captain Rob did say that the floating grass has made it a little tough to troll, but it's worth the hassle as there are some fish out there. Along with the kingfish, and there's also some scattered cobia and amberjacks as well. And it's been a little rough off the beach as of late, but you know what? It looks like it's laying down really nice for the weekend, so you're gonna wanna get out there and check it out. Now moving inshore, the water temperature has been near 80 degrees inshore, and that means the redfish, they're gonna be chasing topwaters first thing in the morning this weekend, one of my favorite things to do. There's quite a few finger mullets showing up across the region, and if you can find a good concentration of those finger mullet, you can bet there's gonna be a few redfish around. My all-time favorite plug, the Rapala Skitterwalk, in the trout and redfish colors, has been working really well when you toss them around those schools of bait. The tide's gonna be low incoming this weekend, so look for oyster bars and grass points that have some moving water and bait around them. That's gonna be a perfect combo. Now, if you do get out early enough where you're able to fish that early morning low water, you're probably also gonna find some reds up super shallow with their backs out of the water. The wind's supposed to be calm too, so it's perfect conditions for that. A soft plastic jerkbait or paddle tail rigged weightless is gonna be the ticket for those shallow redfish. Speaking of shallow redfish, I've got another picture. This is my man Taylor with one of those super shallow redfish he recently caught with me on a charter. Now, also inshore, the flounder, finally we've got some flounder starting to show up across the region and around all the area inlets. Now the best bite has been around the top or the bottom of the tide when that current slows down just a little bit. Slowly fish a mud minnow or a finger mullet on the bottom around those structures. And now when you think you're going slow enough, go slower. You gotta go really slow and just drag that bait across the bottom. As always with flounder, give them at least a few seconds to get the bait in their mouth before you set the hook. Those flounder are running about 1 to 4 pounds, and I got one last picture here. This is Bryson with a nice flatty that he caught this week with Captain Rob Bennett from coastalfish.net.
All right, Tommy, thank you so much. You did a great job. Very, very thorough. Love the pictures as always, and we're gonna go ahead and take a look at your hot spots, bud.
See ya, thank you.
Tommy says offshore kingfish on the nearshore reefs out of St. Augustine, and then inshore the flounder starts showing up throughout the region. Fish docks and rocks around the area inlets with mud minnows or maybe a finger mullet on that bottom.
Mamma Jamma mangroves up in the northeast region.
Yeah,
I like it. All right, we've got one more region to cover here on the Florida Insider Fishing Report, and that, of course, is the southeast region. So if these are your waters, stay hooked, and we'll be right back. Whoa.
Whoa.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Harbor Trucks. Visit harbortrucks.com. Yamaha. Reliability starts here. Suffix. Always use the best line. The IGFA. Fish for the future. Flagler Construction Equipment. Your exclusive Volvo dealer. And Okuma. Inspired fishing.
When you're moving a big offshore boat, it's all about thrust and trust. For thrust, nothing compares to the Yamaha purpose-built 5.3-liter V8 Power Pioneer. And for trust, Yamaha's new F350C model becomes the only outboard in its horsepower class to feature a 5-year limited warranty. Never settle for less than complete confidence and control in the open water. That's Yamaha V8 Power. Get the best and forget the rest.
Outside is a bully. There are bears, screaming fleet-footed waters, arrogant mountains, Goliaths,
Goliaths, and 100 other excuses to stay inside. But there are ways to deal with bullies.
Remember the glory days of gasoline? It's just not made the same anymore.
Kick your gas into gear with StarTron. Pump up the performance in all of your engines. Cure the problems of ethanol with the power of enzymes. And maximize your mileage every time you drive. Kickstart your engines with StarTron.
Harbor Trucks features the largest selection of new and pre-owned trucks in the country.
And this month, it's invoice pricing for everyone.
That's right, you pay what we pay.
Get a brand new 2018 Nissan Titan for only $26,500.
No games, no gimmicks, just hassle-free buying at low, low, low prices.
Check us out now at HarborTrucks.com and enter to win a 2018 Nissan Titan XD 4x4 diesel.
Today's Power Pole Tip of the Week, we're going to discuss the quality craftsmanship that goes into each Power Pole unit. From the nylon bushings, stainless steel and brass hardware, along with the powder coating finish, hydraulic pump system, and the drive-off protection. If you're like me, and you've been fishing in a spot for 20, 30 minutes, an hour, and you decide it's time to move to your next spot, or maybe even take it back to the ramp, and you get everything stowed away, and you get up on plane, and you notice that both your power poles are still down, don't worry, because of the hydraulic system allowing the spikes to free up off the bottom, there'll be no damage done to your spikes, hardware, or transom of your boat. You can bring both power poles up and make it to your next destination or back to the ramp safely, and that's today's Power Pole Tip of the Week.
Power Pole Tip of the Week.
You know, Brie,
Yes.
the competition's shallow water anchor, you drive off with it down.
Don't worry.
Broken stages, broken spikes. You might as well just take it off and throw it away and start all over. With Power Pole, we don't have that. We got drive-off protection.
Protection is what is a good thing. All right, the Casa Vieja Southeast region is ready and reeling to go. So if our Captain Jimbo Thomas is ready, I say let's get to fishing. Hey, Jimbo.
Okay, hey, Rick and Bree. Well, you know, we have plenty of mangrove snapper here in the Southeast region, both inshore and offshore. The problem is finding fish of any size. Now, pretty much any structure will hold those mangroves. Small fish can be caught around any of the bridges up and down the intercoastal waterway, as well as creek mouths, the inlets, and also artificial reefs. It isn't that there aren't any larger fish around these structures. The problem is just getting them to bite. See a lot of big ones, but they are smart. That's why they got big. Now, Captain Wayne Kahn aboard the Reward Fishing Fleet out of Miami Marina, he tells me that his favorite time to fish for mangroves is from the middle of May through July. And lately he's been finding fish from 1 to 3 pounds with an occasional larger fish. And they've been anchoring or drifting live pilchards, cut sardines, or silver sides over the reefs and hard bottom in 50 to 60 feet of water. And they like to fish from the middle of South Beach, south to Key Biscayne. Now, the best tackle for these offshore mangroves, at least, is 20-pound tackle. You want to use a 30 to 60-pound mono or fluoro leader and a 1/0 to 3/0 circle hook and just enough lead so your bait holds the bottom. And if the fish are spooky, you try a little bit lighter leader. Now, he prefers to fish off the moon, and he says the bite usually doesn't start till a little later in the evening, after 9:30 or even 10 o'clock. And he recommends chumming with cut bait versus block chum because you get a lot of little bait sealers up with that block chum. And the night fishing in 50, 80 feet of water from Lake Worth Inlet south has also been good for mangroves in the same size range. Now, I got a picture here. This is an 8-pound mangrove snapper that my wife Jane caught just this past weekend. We're in Venice, Louisiana. So,
Mama Jane.
Yep, we don't see them like that too much here, unfortunately. All right, well, staying offshore, the action on the edge of the Gulf Stream remains consistent with blackfin tuna and kingfish, and also the occasional sailfish and dolphin. We've been seeing a lot of green water in the last week, but it really hasn't seemed to make much of a difference in the bite. We've been fishing live herring and pilchards. You want to fish in 120 to 180 feet of water, either under the kite or out of the riggers or on the drift. And it's also a good idea to drop down a live bait on the bottom because there have been some groupers and mutton snappers out there. Now, if you can find enough pilchards to live chum with, that'll definitely help get that bite going. And you want to fish early in the morning or late in the afternoon. That's when it's been the best, or when it's overcast, and we have had a lot of that overcast stuff. And then in the last few days, the blue water and current moved in, and the fishing's got even better. Now, moving inshore, tarpon action's been really good throughout the region. All of the inlets and their adjacent beaches have been alive with tarpon. Average fish has been about 80 to 100 pounds. The north end of the region, a live mullet is the preferred bait. In the south end, live crabs are the best bait, or live mullet. Now, tide hasn't been a factor when fishing those inlets, just so long as you got moving water. And then all of the bridges of the Intercoastal Waterway, they've also been holding tarpon, and they've been feeding on both live crabs and the live baits. The bridges have been best at night. You want to fish the shadow lines on the outgoing tides, and the inlets have been best in the early mornings and then in the evenings. Now, we've also got permits on the flats of the south end of the region. They've been seeing some very good permit fishing when their weather permits. With the full moon, we've been experiencing some really extreme low and high tides, and those fish have been favoring the outgoing tide. Look for hard bottom flats with lots of moving water between Caesars and Broad Creeks. Now, most of these fish have been swimming or cruising versus tailing, and you want to get a live crab, put it right in front of them, and they usually won't pass that up. And since this is mostly sight fishing, wait for the sun to come up so you get some good visibility. So you want to start, say, 9 a.m. and fish till about 3 p.m. And if there are overcast conditions, try working over light-colored bottom. And most of these permit have been in the 12 to 20-pound range.
Thank you so much, Jimbo. We're looking forward to next week and what you have to report. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the southeast region hotspots. Inshore, Jimbo says drift live crabs and mullet through your local inlet for evening tarpon. And then offshore, fish live baits along the edge of the Gulf Stream in 90 to 200 feet of water for the blackfins, the kingfish, and maybe a sailfish, a mixed bag offshore, sounds like.
Or a permit if the weather permits, as you so pointed out
Of course, that's what Jimbo said.
But of course.
But of course.
Well, anglers, we've given you the mangrove goods to have hopefully a fun and sunny time on the water this weekend. But stay tuned for a little longer because we're telling you what we're fishing for next week, only on the Florida
Insider Fishing Report. Boy, there's a snapper eater.
Harbor Trucks is giving away a brand new 2018 Nissan Titan XD with the Cummins Turbo Diesel.
To enter, like our Facebook page and visit harbortrucks.com for more ways to win.
With the largest selection of new and pre-owned trucks in the country.
An on-site towing and test course.
Hassle-free buying and low, low, low prices.
Harbor Trucks is the place to buy.
Master your most challenging offshore experience with confidence and ease with Yamaha Helmmaster. Precise, intuitive control on the open seas. Unrivaled ease for maneuvering and docking in port. And now SetPoint adds 3 new dimensions to boat control. Maintain boat position with fish point, or a position and heading with stay point, or a heading while you drift with drift point. Yamaha Helmmaster, now with SetPoint. Complete digital control for today's larger offshore boats.
When you're paid to put fish in the boat, you don't mess around with the thing that puts fish in the boat. Always use the best line.
Thanks for tuning in to the Florida Insider Fishing Report. Be sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter and Instagram to keep up with our captains, contests, and appearances. You never have to miss a show. You can find full episodes, special segments, and updated fishing reports from your region right on our homepage. Just head to FloridaInsiderFishingReport.com for everything you need to know to stay hooked up.
Make sure to come back next week and check us out because we are talking about the redfish. Ricky, do you know anything about redfish?
Only a little bit.
Just a little bit.
You know what else I know, Dave?
Oh, my buddy Dave T. just sent me a text when we were talking about mangrove snapper. He caught that on the Critter Fleet out of New Smyrna Beach there. That's a good place to go catch those mangrove snappers. You get on one of them head boats, get out there and catch one.
You catch one on there, and it ends up on here.
Or this turned into what Taylor turned that into.
Deliciousness.
And I'm so
Taylor, thank you for coming and seeing us again.
Thank you. Have fun at prom this weekend. We'll be trying to master your recipe here while you're dancing the night away. And we had a fun show today, right,
guys?
Yes,
we did.
Yes,
absolutely.
We did.
Talked about a great little fish.
We did. Rick, you got to try it, but can the pregnant lady over here get a little taste of this
I would never stand in the way of you and your eating skills.
I'm so excited. Well, you shouldn't. You were just chomping away over there.
You got to feed Mia. Come on, get some of that mangrove.
All right, guys, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week.
Try that.
And have a great day fishing this weekend. Thanks again for coming, Taylor. Bye.
Bye.